Hello, everybody, and welcome. Bienvenidos. We're here again in our formal wear, ready to greet you with consciousness and pleasure, and joy, and coffees and teas. Namaste.
And Reiki, just in case you
And
needed a little
Reiki, as
Reiki.
always, Amber is always giving out the Reiki blessings. It's so sweet, and I can literally feel it. So.
Aloha me, aloha you.
How's everyone doing today? We've already been chatting about some really powerful, interesting stuff. How y'all doing? How's our peeps out there? We want to hear from you again. I'm just going to keep repeating that. Love to hear what you guys want to chat about, hear about, have conversations on your a part of this round table.
Yes, please put it in the comments, or if you want to start a dialogue, message one of us on Instagram. Our ats are right under our names.
Yeah.
But we want to be more inclusive.
Absolutely. And we were chatting a bit about the cosmos. We were talking about this Virgo eclipse that's coming up. It's happening for everyone in slightly different dynamics, depending on where it shows up in your chart. If it's showing up in a specific house, it'll have a different flavor or a different stage that it's taking place on. So I know we were chatting about that a bit. Does anyone have anything on their heart about that? I mean, Virgo is the taskmaster. Virgo is the nurse. Virgo is the healer. It's a lot to do with the physical body as well, our daily routines. So that's something that just collectively we're going to be tuning into. And because it's in our South Node, which is really more it's kind of like a karmic release of energy. It's where we've been. It's how we've done it. And it's how what we need to come to terms with in order to release it, so that when we're moving forward into the North Node of Pisces, we are letting go of the old versions of ourselves in that Virgo, I would say more shadow aspect of Virgo. So this may have shown up for you as doing too much, overdoing it, perfectionism. Your daily routine is like, oh God, it reminds me of Saved by the Bell. I don't know if y'all watch this. This was maybe more Amber, but it reminds me of the episode of Jessie's character when she would go, I'm so excited. She was like an overachiever and she started taking pills. Why am I talking about this? I don't know. It must be right. But she started taking pills because she couldn't get all the work done. She couldn't get all the tasks done. She couldn't get everything perfect. She couldn't fit everything in one day.
Dad! Wait, what am I gonna wear?
Jessie, remember? Lisa's bringing your costume.
Right, I gotta wash my hair.
No, there's no time.
No time! There's never any time! I don't have time to study! I'll never get into Stanford! I'll let everyone down! I'm so confused!
Jessie,
And then she had a meltdown by overdoing, by frying her system. So that would be a great example of Virgo South Node energy, of just overdoing it and not pausing to fill up your own cup and take time to put your own breathing mask on first before helping others. So the story will come to life even more depending on where it shows up in your chart. But it's a very interesting, I think, eclipse season because of that, because we're meant to go more into Pisces energy, these cosmic conversations, the dream realm, the connection to spirit, and find a balance between also being in a 3D suit, being a human, being a massive spirit in a human experience, on how to come to terms and balance that. So that's kind of what's up. It's kind of what's on the table right now.
So, do you think that's going to bring out? So there's two ways that you can go try to accomplish that. You can take care of yourself and be your best version, and try to, or not try, and then schedule yourself and accomplish things, or the one that unfortunately most humans choose is the Adderall or caffeine, or trying to get too much accomplished because they're feeling like an imposter syndrome, or they need to catch up, or they're comparing themselves to others. So so filling up your cup, maybe do coconut water instead of instead of caffeine right now. Give your adrenals and lymphatic system a break. Also, is there a conflict with your inner dreamy Pisces desires and fantasy land, and then the strict do everything properly, stop fantasizing Virgo?
I think it's all about the balance. Like that's why these usually when we're looking at the astrological axis, it is so one sign is so different from the other because there's this beautiful yin yang alchemy that sits in the middle and that center point. So it's kind of like sometimes the way I look at the Virgo Pisces axis is plan and surrender. So it's like you're making that plan and then you surrender to what is and what wants to happen and what the universe sees. The universe is always going to lay it out better for us than we can design in our minds. And so it's that old system of clutching to what we think we can control and design, and then it doesn't show up perfect or what. So it's that beautiful ebb and flow. And it also reminds me of, it's like where in order to attain higher wisdom, in order to tune into higher channels, how much did it take for us as far as discipline and taking actual steps in the physical world to even attain those higher frequencies, right? Mm-hmm. It took us making a different list for ourselves in our daily routine. And then the priority is spirit first thing in the morning, if that's what it is for you. The priority now is meditation. The priority now is whatever that practice is for you, detoxing the body. I think also the body is going to speak to us a lot more, and we may be tuning into more gifts, or the chakra system is changing or expanding, because we're talking about, again, very cosmic energy, but in how it pertains to the physical suit. So really listening to your body and getting quiet to tune into that, I think will probably show up for us and be helpful to do.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, what you're saying is that when you talk about balance, it's like that doing part, and then the being part is just, it's finding that balance and coming from, I think perfectionism. So even for a lot of my clients, it's very much you're driven, you get to a certain place because you do certain things and you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing for whatever reason. And is it internal or is it external forces that we're like, no, I've got to do this and I've got to stay up all night and make sure this is perfect. It's a really common theme, I think, for a lot of folks, myself included. And then to be able to go, just to even ease up off the gas for a little bit and go, you know what, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. I think Shauna, you and I were talking about this. It's good enough, it's, and to have that latitude and just to kind of chill a little bit is so liberating. And to go, wow, why was I pushing myself so hard? And it's no judgment, but to go look at us, we can change and evolve. So it frees up a lot more energy too, I think, to do the fun things.
And tuning into whose voice is telling you that you have to do those things. Yeah. Like really actually listening. Who's making me compare myself to somebody else? Who's making me write that list and telling me that there's something wrong if I don't achieve it? That's when you can start to really make a shift. If you hear a parent or a teacher or a boss or something, if you can really figure out if that's where that's coming from, you can start to make those shifts within yourself and then step into your authenticity and figure out what is right for you. Yeah.
True.
I concur.
I
can tell we're all absorbing this because it has such validation, I think, for all of us and what we've experienced in our lives. And I think there's that quote, comparison is the thief of happiness or something like that. It's so true. Comparisons, it's what we have collectively. This is why the North and South Node are so fascinating, because it does speak to us on a collective scale and how we've all contributed to these archetypes. So these archetypes in our past lives, whatever, it's all happening at the same time. But there is some sort of it's interesting. There is some sort of a release and a healing and an up-leveling and an invitation for that. But don't be surprised if you notice these things coming up, these shadow parts of you coming up again. Don't feel like I'm backsliding no, they're really there to come up and release. And actually, reflecting on my own dream time, I keep having showers in my dream, like shower scenarios where I have been, this is a part of my own personal chart, when I'm in Vedic astrology, I actually do have the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo, but I really look more at Western astrology. And so it's Aries, North Node, South Node, Libra. I resonate with both to a certain degree, but there's a healing clearly going on within myself, because these shower dreams, as we get closer and closer, I'm like, God, I am really getting super clean in dream time. What is that about? But these are this is what your mind will use, a symbolism for what we're taking on. I've also had trains in my dream recently too, which to me is always a timeline. That's my own way of seeing trains. Those are timeline shifts, because really trains are like that. They're on a certain track and trajectory, and it's not until that conductor or whomever pivots the train, and then it suddenly goes in a different direction. So we're always talking about timeline shifts when we're talking about eclipses as well. So not to mention what Neptune's up to. It's just all the things.
Well, Pisces rules dreams, right?
Oh,
Yeah, okay. Because I messaged Barb a few days ago because I saw her in the astral and I remembered a lot of it. And it's funny, as you were talking, I was like, oh, that's right. I saw you, Shauna, in my dream last night, but then you start talking about showers, and I'm like, maybe I hold off on mentioning. I don't remember a shower. But
you can show up in my shower dreams.
That's cool. Okay. That's all right. That's all right.
They're like, Kimberly, what's up? Yeah, it's crazy. It's great. Do you mind getting my back? It's been hard to reach. Amber, is this coming up for you in any specific way or someone you know?
Well, I you were just talking about the new time, so we just got this card here that's in alignment to everything you guys are talking about, and it goes back to positive self-talk. Get rid of that inner critic, right? Mm-hmm. Advancement, opportunity, and leadership. So that's kind of actually the theme that seems to be coming up for me too. So yeah, it is all, it's all about, like you said, the balance and just on the I am within, right? That's what we got to do in order to get out. We got to go within and just bring more of that into the world. And I think that's what we're all doing. And I'm just so proud of all of us.
Yay!
Doing it.
All these leaders right here.
Yeah, no, March is cosmically, I think, the biggest month of the year. And sometimes I look at Sedona's weather as an indication of what's to come. And it has been interesting weather system. And Barb's got the snow in the background for a reason. It's snowing today. We've had wild winds. I always take that as the winds of change. And we've had, everything from like sunshine and springtime to like now it's snowing and crazy winds. Yeah. So huge cosmic shifts are underway. And like Amber was mentioning before, it really is, there is stuff that's going on in our lifetime of experience that we won't get again. So for the fact that so many outer planets, especially because these are the far reaching planets, right? These are the ones that are so far out there, and what they're receiving from the galactic center as far as codes, and what they're receiving from our outer solar system and the universe, these codes are moving into different energies. And so that cosmic clock is like, it's incredible to have these slow moving planets, moving signs, and happening, so many of them all within our lifetime. So that's powerful stuff. And I think, again, up-leveling what it is to be in the human experience, to be a spirit in a human experience right now. And
during your conference, there's also, I believe, Aries, what is it?
The Aries eclipse.
The Aries eclipse.
Yep. That's going to finish up that storyline, because we've been working with Libra Aries energy, which is self and relationships, ego, identity, things like that, and relationships, because that's also interconnected, right? Who we are resonates with who we are in relationships with. So that story is starting to kind of clean itself up and make its way out. And now we're introducing like the cosmic self, the cosmic relationships, perhaps, right? And our relationship with our physical body and our spiritual being and our connection to source. So it is huge energy that we're going through right now. It's very exciting. And also, it's going to, I think, require a certain level of awareness to deal with it and not be a victim of it, but to like really alchemize with it could be a very fun thing. It could be a time to do that cleanse that you've been thinking of. You know, it could be time to detox or anything like that. Body work would be a huge thing right now. So this is very cool. I don't know. I could go on this topic forever, so I don't want to hog it up with that. But definitely shout out to the cosmos. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Well, just to finish it off with you, last night in conversation we were talking with my friend Gina from Ether Flows podcast. We were talking about shadow work and how when you catch yourself in something that has always been a trigger and you actually deal with it while it's happening, that's when you get it to dissipate. That's when it starts to go away. That's when you hack it, and then you can break that cycle like as it's happening. Because typically when we get triggered or bothered by something, it happens and then we reflect on it for a while, and then we're, in our quiet times, we're saying, oh, I should have done it this way, or I should have said this at the time, or whatever. But when you actually catch it as it's happening, and then you can pull back and not be bothered in the ways that you have 100 times before, but you catch it in the moment, that's the magic. That's the shadow work. That's the getting rid of it and never having to repeat it again. But as you were talking, this also made me think, everyone's always saying, when's disclosure? When are we going to see more? Like, this is us actively being part of disclosure. The higher we level up, the more powerful we are. We step into our mastery. We step into our power. We claim our authenticity and never look back. That's disclosure. Because when all of us did this, a ton of multidimensionality opened up to us. A ton of abilities, and we realized that what we always thought was intuition is actually, a psychic sense, and it all comes in. So if you take this period of time with all this big planet energy, and as things come up, you deal with it at that moment, you are going to get rid of the things that have been your blocks. You're going to get rid of what's been in your way. You're going to get out of your own way. And then all of this multidimensionality and healing and abilities are just going to flood in, because they're not being held, because there's room for that now. So this is a good period to kick that into gear.
Yeah. I actually kind of said that in one of my email newsletters about the conference coming up, was talking about the fact that we are the disclosure. We are. So getting out there and showing up and sharing what you have. This is the disclosure movement. We're not sitting back waiting for anything. This is it. You are it. We are it. So
participating, but instead of in sleeper mode, now you're actively participating in it and becoming part of the change that you want to see, to not sound like a cliche.
Cliches are there for a reason. They usually have some little nugget in there. So since we're talking about kind of Neptune, maybe this falls under the wheelhouse more of Scorpio energy, but I know we had chatted about maybe bringing up some really spiritually tangible experiences, right? Something that we've all had a unique experience that really kind of clinched it for us in terms of, whoa, there are other places beyond this realm. So I don't know if something comes to heart for each of you, but I would love like a little synopsis on what that was.
Let's start with, did anybody have anything happen when they were really young that they can remember? And we can go up that way. Okay.
Oh, through the age? Okay. I see you. Okay.
Because that reminds you that you've always been like this.
Yes.
When you actually think back and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Oh no, when I was really young, I had an experience. Like, how did I not ever bring that into this journey? Okay, so
Yeah.
please share.
Thank you. And then also, I'm going to circle in another astrology point. Why? Because I love it. I astrologically, we are our sun sign. We are our specific signs when we first come in, and then there's progressed astrology because as we're on the planet, we progress as beings and we learn things and we expand. So what I realized, which I thought was fascinating, I am a late degree Libra. So that means I was born very towards the end of Libra season. I can knock on the door of Scorpio. It's right there. So very early on, I switched into my progressed Scorpio sun. So what does that really mean? I experienced a lot of my early years in more of a Scorpio flavor of energy. Why is this relevant? Because of what we're talking about here. It means that at a young age, I was dealing with immediately Scorpio themes like occult, what's the word I'm looking? Spiritual experiences, metaphysical experiences,
Secretive, and like
secretive
hidden.
power struggles, fears, lots of fear. Oh my God, I was totally afraid of
what was happening.
I mean, I was, even though I had a mother who was pretty aware, I was pretty, I was really all of my fears were in the forefront for me to deal with at a very young age. You deal also with loss. And Barb, I'm going to show this to you as well. Barb is actually an early degree Libra. So she spent probably the first 30 years in Libra energy. But Barb, if you start thinking about after about late 20s, 30s, and you look until now, you're actually more in your Scorpio season. And so I don't know if that shows up for you, but gosh, for me, when I look back, it showed up in me. I mean, I dealt with loss and so many Scorpio themes right away in my life. So I'm about 10 years old. My best friend loses her grandfather. I go to what's called sitting Shiva. When you are of Jewish background, you basically you have a celebration. You have a celebration after the funeral to honor that loved one. And part of that ceremony, you need to cover all of the mirrors. And that's because it's interesting, multiple meanings to that. And there's fascinating mysticism in the Jewish culture. But you cover the mirrors essentially because you're meant to not look at yourselves. It's not about you. It's about reflecting on that loved one. They also bury their loved ones right away because they feel that it can be confusing if you're a new spirit. And if you are not buried right away, you could kind of be in this limbo state, right? And so that's why to them it's very important to bury right away. And then you sit Shiva and you have basically almost a week of doing this. So you get together, you have food, you honor the person, you cover the mirrors. So I'm at my mirrors are also portals, just throwing that out there. Maybe they knew that. So I'm at my friend's house. We're honoring her grandfather. We go upstairs, and I was raised that you don't go into bedrooms unless you're like invited into them. So I go up the stairs and I just stand there in the hallway. And she's running around looking for socks. I turn and there's a mirror. There's a tall mirror. And I'm like, comes to my mind, that's strange because mirrors are supposed to be covered during sitting Shiva. So I look and I'm like, as I look, a man in a brown suit walks behind me and goes to one of the rooms. And I'm like, Jill? I'm like, is it just you and I up here? And she's like, yeah, everyone's downstairs. I mean, it wasn't a huge upstairs, right? It was just like small room. I was like, okay. Cause I just saw a man in a brown suit and he walked into that room and she comes out with socks finally that she found. And she's like, this room? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, that's my grandfather's office. That was his favorite room. And we buried him in his favorite brown suit.
Wow.
I had no way of knowing that. I didn't even, they also do not have open caskets at Jewish funerals. So I didn't see it. I don't even remember attending the funeral portion. I think I only came to the sitting Shiva. I mean, goosebumps everywhere. I saw a physical being. It's funny though, he looked younger.
Yeah.
He did not look grandfather age. And I saw him in full apparition walk behind me in that mirror. And that, I just remember us like, we're running downstairs like, Shauna saw grandma. We're just like, didn't know what to do with it. And right around then is when I think I started to, I sort of shut down. I was having so many crazy experiences beyond that, getting stuck in the astral, not being able to come back in my body, things like this. But that one was really like tough to process. So yeah, that was my pop story.
Do you remember at the moment that it happened, did you have the sensation that it was something not of this world?
Yeah.
Were you able to see through them? Do you remember that?
He looked very physical, looked younger than he was. And I mean, it looked like a full blown person had walked behind me, like you would see in a mirror. But the sensation of what I felt was a more spiritual sensation, which is why I immediately was like, I knew right away that this was not a person just straight up walk behind. First of all, why are you in a brown suit? You know what I mean? None of us dress up like that. So I knew right away. So that was that moment of like the mental mind trying to practicalize something that was like, I knew wasn't, and it's trying to sync up and it can't. And so, yeah, that was.
That's cool. But then it bothered you so much that you probably didn't put too much focus on it after, like it was scary, huh?
It was kind of, well, you start to second guess, I think, your own, did I really see that? But I mean, I described something that I had no way of knowing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was his favorite room. I didn't know he was buried in a brown suit. So it was, and my girlfriend Jill, very psychic herself, very intuitive. But we had Angel Club growing up. I mean, come on. We were like, we were super into the things. She wanted to, like, her, we still joke about it. Her favorite thing was like, I want to be abducted by aliens. That was like her 5th grade dream. It's like in the yearbook. I was like, that's hysterical. That's breaking up.
Wow.
So she and I were both experiencing kind of on the cusp of freaky, for kids. You're just like, maybe there are really ghosts in the closet or under my bed, and you still don't have a way of processing.
What an interesting situation, because if you would have understood it, or if you were who you are today, or you had people like this around you today, they would have said, they would have hyped you up and built up your self-esteem, knowing that you're capable of this, because we all have access to we can all do this. So your life could have been completely different at that moment if you would have accepted that I'm here now. The veil was lifted. So I, like you were talking about the trains, I can go in either direction here, but you chose to stay in the human realm a little bit longer, and have the human experiences and get rid of that karma.
We were weird enough as the household of like, mom runs psychic fairs and has, ET meetings. Like, come on, we were weird enough. So it was kind of like, and with my Capricorn ascendant, it was like, fit in, stay, stay inside the box. I just remember just terribly wanting to fit in growing up. That was a huge theme for me, is don't stand out, fit in, conform. And I really shut myself down in so many ways, and then spent since 20 something years old trying to undo that. But I'm now in my progressed Sagittarius sun. So I am now like, yes, it's so much fun. It's such a different experience of myself where I'm like, no, I'm ready to adventure into these things and bring it on. And I love it. And it's probably why I'm in resonance with you all now, why I'm able to do that. So very cool. So who's the next stage? What's
I can go. I mean, shoot. I know, Kimberly, you mentioned this before, and I'm like, I don't really remember that much about my childhood. But I do remember with my dad. So I have a very clear vision being probably 3 years old. And I remember being in my bedroom, and I looked out in the kitchen, and I see my mom and dad, because it was just me. I didn't have any siblings. But I'm like, what is happening here? I'm not from here. Like, this is so weird. And I remember my dad, we would go out look at night, because he was a night guy too. He used to work a lot of night shift, and I'm a night shift person too. But he would go out and look at the stars, and he would say, "Which one are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm from that one," and he's like, "Me too." So that's just so. And it was Mintaka. It's the third star on Orion's belt, and I didn't know that back then. But I'm like, yeah, that's the one I point to, and it's he's definitely a galactic guide. So that's, a former military. And so I kind of followed in his shoes, I guess, not knowing. But I was the opposite. I was the oppositional child. My mom, especially with my mother, it was like, just no. She'd say this, I'd say no. I would do the exact opposite just to, you know. There's a disorder, I guess it's called oppositional defiant disorder. I do not subscribe to that. But no, it was just like, no, you're not going to tell me what to do. No one's going to tell me what to do. So that's just kind of the theme of my childhood was, but I think back now, and they were very tuned in. I mean, when my grandma died, my dad was with, and we didn't know she was sick. He was actually away with his mom, so my one grandmother. And my mom, something fell in the closet or something, and she says, "Oh, your grandma just died." And I'm like, okay. And sure enough, phone rang 5 minutes later, mom's gone. I'm like, whoa. So that was just normal. They're just like witchy. They're making mint teas and very groundy people. So to me, I was like, this is just normal. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what, and I've had, loss as well, but probably later in life. I mean, everybody's on the other side. I don't have my mom, my dad, my husband, everybody's gone, all my pups. So I have a very good connection with the other side, and I get a lot of good information and, downloads. And Steve's, we're better friends now than we were, I think, when he was here, but it's just so clear. And he gets to show me, like I'll go through a scenario of like, hey, this and this. I'm like, well, show me what that description is. Show me the higher perspective of that. And it's cool because there's a glass screen. They show it. You get to feel what you felt in the situation, like an argument. And you also get to feel what they felt. So the words that were thrown like daggers, because I'm very good at daggers, I get to feel what he felt like. And I'm like, oh, that's uncomfortable. He's like, yeah. So that to me is just like, but that's more galactic stuff. It's not really the ghost. Although at the hospital, we'd see them all the time. Call bells would go off, by themselves. And you'd see through mirrors, you'd see people and patients walking by. It's like, oh, that room's haunted. There's weird stuff. And there are. You'd see, the people in the mirror. So you're right about the portals, Shauna, absolutely. And they just come up behind you and you're like, oh, hello, Mr. So-and-so. How you doing? And they haven't moved on. So that's my 2 cents.
And that's interesting because I don't know your full timeline, but I would place that at more of when you stepped into more of the progressed Scorpio energy of your life. Power dynamics. It would be connected to having these sort of experiences, more sort of ghostly experiences or things like that, dealing with a lot of death. And those do seem like themes that came up for you a little bit later in life. And even, I don't know, when you're awakening, right, or reawakening. This is like we said, we've all kind of felt something in the beginning, but
yeah, it's interesting because my grandma died. Heart attack, boom. I was 12 years old. My mom died when I was 21. Heart attack, gone. My dad, everybody was just like bam, bam, bam. So but then there's been more towards the end of my life, I think too. But no, when you're struck with that early, where everything you love is taken from you, and you're like, well, I'm solo. And this is what I hear all the time. You come in alone, you leave alone. And you get to choose who you play with while you're here, and nothing is permanent. That's one of the biggest lessons I've had is, appreciate what you have because tomorrow it's gone. And I'm like, so that's kind of been my theme. I don't know if that's a really good theme or not, but it just is what it is, to really appreciate and dive full in, because I could wake up dead tomorrow. That was always our big joke at the hospital,
Wake up.
I woke up dead and now I got nothing, and now I can't enjoy the coffee and I can't enjoy the chocolate. And it's like, dang, just enjoy it while you're here because you might not be here. So that's a little dark humor.
No, that's very Scorpio. Actually, I'm going to it and I love this astrological oracle card, but she says it so beautifully, just what you're saying, which is dun, 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 dun.
Well, Shauna's looking that up. Maybe
Thank you.
maybe we should discuss our robe choices today. Yeah, but Barbara's robe's better. I just look like I'm in a dark, like, wizard cape.
You look cozy, Kimberly. No, we had talked about this before. This is why this is like, I don't usually wear a robe. Yes, I do. But yes, it's a unicorn robe. Like, no, it's regal, and be your own self and just enjoy and be comfortable.
Yeah.
You have a hood. Oh, see, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I will join you in the hooded.
Ooh.
Hooded robe. Hell yeah. Well, this came about the No Pants Zoom, the No Pants podcast, where you can literally not be wearing anything below the camera.
Okay, so it's actually 8th house, which is connected to and traditionally ruled by Scorpio energy. But what it says is the 8th house calls for one last freedom, to acknowledge that death exists and be fully alive in response. So that's what I feel like Barb was talking about, is that her full awareness that death exists. We kind of come in alone, we go out alone, and to be fully alive in response. I just feel like it's such a powerful statement. So thank you, Heather Rowan Robbins. It's amazing, amazing deck. Voila.
Awesome.
Voila.
That was very impressive that you remembered that part. That was a small part to remember. That's cool.
It's a big small part though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Huge. It's huge.
It's gonna be huge. Sorry.
Gigantic. Amber, do you have a childhood memory of woo to share?
So what comes up for me is I used to sleepwalk and talk.
Me too. Okay, go ahead.
And so, yeah, it was very like vivid and obviously real. Like, and I would get out of my bed and be talking, and like my mom would be like, "What the heck?" She'd come in and be like, "What are you talking about?" And be like explaining something to her on the wall or whatever. And she's just like, "I don't know what you're talking about." But yeah, there were several times I remember my mom would also wake me up to move, because I would sleep. I would always get migraines, and I just felt safe in my mom's bed. And so I would go in there, and then she would wake me up to go into my bed, and I'd always like be talking, in my sleep. And she one time she like was shaking my feet, and she was trying to wake me up to go to bed. And I said, "These are the feet, these are the feet, these are the feet all the people hang around." And she just like died laughing, and it's just been a joke ever since. But yeah, like I used to do crazy things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it dangerous to wake a sleepwalker?
I don't know.
I think that was the thing where they say don't wake a sleepwalker.
So yeah, that was interesting.
Wow.
And I was very, I feel like, just very open, and very sensitive. So, but yeah, in the dream space, I would just literally take a walk and people on in it talking, and I'm in my totally different world. Within a world.
Do you remember what you were dreaming about though when they would wake you up? Do you ever have any conscious memory of what propelled you to walk while you're dreaming?
There were some of them that, like apparent, like that one time I was trying to show my mom something on the wall. Like there was some kind of information on the wall that I was trying to show her. And then that brought up an interesting memory when my mom was painting a rainbow in our room when we were kids. And then we got a phone call that my uncle had passed away. And so that was just kind of interesting. I just thought of that, like as she's painting a rainbow.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Rainbow Bridge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like literal.
And then my grandma's passed, my dad's passed, and I am in constant communication now with them. I feel like they're always sending me messages like throughout the day, just all the time, just the numbers on the clock, or, every time I get a text message from you guys or something, it's literally like my grandma's number or my dad's number, like, and it's just like, it just makes it so much more real that this is like a family, you know, and that we're connected, and they're just showing it like confirmation, like, yes, you know, it's all meant to be. And
right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
beautiful. You know, again, like that's my dream moving forward for this planet, and getting these mystery schools and these, you know, ascension spas, you know, but truly so that we can really support the youth and gosh, just make it so that this stuff is talked about, invited, and we can all really tap into our superpowers and not be afraid of it, and not shut down parts of ourselves and trying to unfuck ourselves like it really helps people do. You know, because really, like, who would we all have been?
Imagine.
Yes. Right.
Okay, so I don't want to forget to go back to spontaneous past life recollection when you're a child. So I'm going to share my childhood thing now, and then I'll bring that up. Okay. So because I did a deep dive into that. I'll share what I was planning to, but I also have something to add with Amber because I've never put these two things together. So thank you. I used to do this thing, and I didn't know what to call it, and I would be in my room by myself, laying on my bed, and I would say, I want to feel sensation in my feet, and I would feel like frequency, I'm sure is what it was, right? So I would go through my whole body, and I would move the energy up through my body and out my arms and out my hands. So I'm sure this was a way of me learning how to meditate, because I was really young when I would do this, you know, and I would go into this flow state, and I would move this energy around my body just because I could. And I thought it was interesting. And then I would do this thing so often when I would do that. And also right before I would go to fall asleep, I would start to see myself moving towards something, and in my mind though. So it wasn't like a sensation of falling, but I would see. And I don't know why this was the one focus specifically, because it would change sometimes, but it was this, my grandmother had red carpet in her house, and I would see myself moving towards the red carpet and getting closer and closer, but I would never hit it. And when I started when I kind of had like a huge component of my awakening, let's say in like 2018, and I was doing way more, I was meditating, and I was learning about the chakras and the third eye. When I would do a third eye meditation, I would see myself starting to move towards something, and it clicked. Oh my gosh, I used to do this when I was young all the time. So I was working with my third eye. I just didn't know, like, I was utilizing all of it. I just didn't have a schema for it, or words, or definition, or anyone else that, you know, to talk to about what I was doing, because it was always alone. So that was like my energy work, I suppose, when I was little. But my parents, I have a visual memory of this once or twice. But my parents would tell me, they'd wake me up and say, "You're sleepwalking again." So clearly this happened more than once. I would do we moved to this house that it had a second story. They would wake me up, and I'd be on the landing right at the top of the stairs. So can you imagine, like, oh shit, she's doing it again. They'd have to go get me. And I would be laying at the top of the stairs. Why there? I don't know. Why that was my choice. Luckily, I stopped there. But that means that I got up out of my bed and walked over and laid back down at the landing of the stairs. And I used to do it a lot. So I wonder, Amber, you and I should do some research on out of body or astral traveling, or how many people who have memories of going up on ship or something, if like what the association with sleepwalking is, because that would be fascinating, huh? Yeah. Okay, so all you parents out there, spontaneous past life recognition is really easy to happen, to evoke in your kids. If you're interested, it's not scary, there's nothing wrong with this. Kids, very young children that can communicate, are not affected by life's traumas and responsibilities and work and the programming of the matrix and school and everything. So they're very open. They're very in touch with spirit. They're very multidimensional. So when they come to you and bring something up that kind of surprises you a little bit, like how would they know that? Ask them questions. So my son used to talk about flying an airplane over the land in Africa, and he could see the animals from the airplane. And at that point, he had never been in an airplane. He'd never talked about wanting to be a pilot or anything. And actually, my son's on the spectrum, and so his communication was limited. So when he would bring something up like this, and I could ask him questions, and he'd really be able to answer, I paid attention, you know. So then I started asking him, what were you wearing? You know, and I think he said he was wearing a uniform. And I said, well, what color was it? And he would tell me it was blue with silver buttons. And so then I was starting to understand that he was telling me that he was probably flying. I don't know if he was in the war or a war, but it was probably a military memory, and he was a pilot. And so then I heard this author of Children's Past Lives. I can't remember her name. I feel bad. I think I saw her on a talk show. So I looked up her book, and then she studied with Ian Stevenson, who was an extremely highly respected man from an important college, one of the renowned colleges here. And he was always a very conservative person. And all of a sudden he got into past life studies, and he created this really elaborate list of questions to ask people to remove any doubt that it was being made up. Mm-hmm. And then he started going all around the world to places that they're way more open to it, like India, certain parts of Asia. And some of the stories that came out of this study was fascinating. So look up Children's Past Lives. That's the name of the book of the woman who worked with Ian Stevenson. Wow. And remember, when your kids bring something up that you're like, where'd that come from? Start asking them questions, because they might surprise you. Like, was anyone else terrified of fireworks when they were little?
Yeah, the sound.
I was, yes. I was. It didn't even make sense. I was so excited to see them, and as soon as it would start, I was terrified, and I couldn't even understand where that fear was coming from. Mm-hmm. And I wish somebody would have pursued that. You know, like it might have helped me unlock some of the trauma associated, because now I love them, absolutely love them. But yeah. So there's a lot of missed opportunities with us as kids, because our parents didn't know, but we do. We're awake now. You're hearing me say this now, so start listening. Start listening to your nieces and nephews and grandchildren and children and neighbors' kids. It doesn't matter. You're not going to mess them up. Just
curious.
Yeah, that was my girlfriend Jill that I was referring to. You know, very awake and aware. My Angel Club friend, her son, same thing. And she was aware enough to support it and just kind of, oh, really? Tell me more about that. What do you remember? But I right out the gate was referring to himself with kind of an Irish name. Mm-hmm. He knew exactly that he was an archaeologist, which is funny because he's fascinated by dinosaurs and he's so advanced with them. He could rattle things off at such a young age. But he knew his name and he knew what his job was, and he had all these memories, and she just kept inviting and jotting these things down.
Yeah.
So it's and now that he's a little bit older, he's like, really? I said that? You know, it's like mm-hmm. you start to lose as you go to school and such, but it was there, and it was just like, I mean, we're just like, oh my, I'm like, tell me more. Oh my gosh, ask him this, you know.
And, record it. Right now we have the ability to record it. Well, yeah. Think about this. So many people have a fear of heights, of going over bridges, of water, of if those things were addressed when they were little, when those memories came up, and you could help your child realize that they're referring to a different life, and then very simply just explain to them that, you know, you've been different people before and you chose to come here. We decided together that we're going to be in this lifetime. And even if you're not I would imagine most people watching this have a pretty good grasp of reincarnation and probably believe in it. You could help them bypass a life of fear of heights, of bridges, of car accidents, of, you know, drowning. Like there's a lot of healing that can happen, and it won't even be scary at that time with the kids. When it's scary is when a traumatic issue comes up or event comes up that brings that stuff up. But when they're just bringing it up in conversation because they remember something, that's when you can unlock it, and then you remove all of the reasons for them to go into a fear state, because that fear is coming from not understanding why it's scaring them more than it should be at that moment. So that's cool.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, if you create a safe space and a safe container and you get it right away, then yeah, it can be totally deflated and you don't have to deal with it. Mine was always more claustrophobia. So
Yeah.
that's being zip filed into a small, tiny suit, you know? I'm like, no, I'm so much bigger. Well, thank you all for sharing these. I mean, it's amazing to hear and to get to know you all more as my sisters and reflections. It's really fascinating. Gosh, be exciting, you know, to just time travel back there and see what other information can be picked up. It's a lot, you know, it reminds me of SSP program and other sorts of things that can be locked away in your consciousness.
Yeah.
And you may not even know it until the right thing triggers it. And suddenly all of these suppressed memories come up. And I've had a big attraction to MK Ultra for whatever reason. So I've played with exploring that within myself. But I did also have a huge ET or UFO experience when I was about 16. And man, when I often wonder, I was with someone else when it took place, very reptilian energy. Um, and I often wonder if I have, I mean, that ship was right above us. I mean, so close, probably 300 feet right above us, to the point where the radio was glitching. And that's how we actually noticed it. And and the roof was up, the sunroof was up, and I looked up and I'm like, I didn't even tell my mom about this. I was like, I told her now, and I was like, "Did I?" She's like, "You never told me that." How weird that my mother, who's into UFOs,
Yeah.
I have this experience. I'm 16 years old, so I'm, you know, with it enough to didn't tell her about it.
That's your psyche protecting you, don't you think?
Right. So I'm like, what else could have happened? Maybe I just remember that it was there and then it zoomed away, but maybe there's more to that. And it's just suppressed in my consciousness. It's like it's in that back file somewhere. Excuse me, you know.
Pardon me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So
wow.
I know. So I'm like, maybe one of these days, if I, you know, really feel called to look into it more deeply, what it could be like if I went to, you know, quantum healing hypnosis or something and saw what else could have happened there at this time. So
well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but since you brought up SSP and MK Ultra, was anyone else taken out of the classroom for testing a lot when they were little?
I believe Rion was.
I was constantly,
Yeah.
and I've always wondered why. And it was only so I'll save it for the next episode.
Yeah, tune in next time.
Yeah, maybe we'll have Rion on to share his part too, because it happened to me repetitively, and in this tiny little cute little elementary school where, yeah, I have a ton of recall about it, and
Yeah.
I even used to question it when it was happening, and I would get some weird answers to it. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll cover that in episode.
Yeah, for sure.
8.
For sure.
6, 7, 7's coming. This is 8, so we'll cover that in episode 9.
Yes, I love it.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for sharing your hearts and your candor with me, with us.
Please like and subscribe. Please.
Yes. If you enjoy this, like, share, subscribe. It helps, you know, because these conversations are, I think, the ones to be having at this time.
Yeah.
So,
and
love
ask
you
us,
guys.
bring up topics. Put it in the comments. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if any, no, you go.
I was going to say, what's relevant for you? What's coming up? What questions do you have? What things have you always thought about? And you always wanted to have a circle of people to talk to or with about that. Yeah. Drop it in the comments and let us know. And you're part of our family. So let's hear from you.
Yeah. And if anything that we have brought up really strikes home for you and you want to talk about it more, we're all accessible. You can message us on Instagram or here,
Yes.
you know, but if it's specifically one person, you know, you're welcome to reach out, because this is fun for us. It's healing for us. It's part of our growth. You know, it's part of us creating a tribe and a community. And we really mean that. We're not just saying that. We really mean that.
Yes. Yes. If you have astrology questions, you want to send me a picture of your chart, I can tell you where these eclipses are taking place for you. So that might be really helpful as well. So just hit us up, and we love you all so much. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
You
Take
may
care.
or may not be wearing clothes.
May or may not. Yeah. Yeah. It might be pajama week next week. Although
Yeah.
Might be shower week, you know. I'm just staying in theme here.
Towels.
Everyone come in your towel.
Turban.
All right.
Bye everyone.
Love you.
Bye, everyone.